It's Dave Lawrence. We are here and enjoying the company of Kenny G in town, his second appearance at the Blue Note, Hawaii. Thank you very much for taking some time for us.
We're having fun here. We love playing in Hawaii. Blue Note's a great club, and, you know, we appreciate everybody coming out. It's all sold out, except for just the very last show at New Year's Eve, but everything else is sold out already.
Isn't that weird? I would have thought that would have gone first.
I think the price is too high.
Is that
Which is fine. It's appropriately high. It should be. So I think people are just kind of taking their time seeing what else, but I'm sure it'll sell out probably in the next day and a half.
I have no doubt, especially when this hits the air for you. I was looking at some of your, you've had this illustrious career of not only having, you know, huge songs on your own, but you've collaborated with so many people. And it's, I was showing it to my boss. It's whether it's Steve Miller, Frank Sinatra, Smokey Robinson, George Benson, Aretha. When you think of some of these cats and the privilege that you've had getting to work with them, what stands out as one that's really remarkable experience?
Well, I would like to say it's the Frank Sinatra one, but it's basically it's just bragging rights. But because we weren't in the studio together, it wasn't like, you know, he was looking at me when he sang or we were sharing any moments. But for bragging rights, that's the one right there, because there's no other instrumentalists. I mean, it's Bono, it's Barbra Streisand, and then you got me on there. I'm thinking this is pretty cool company. But I mean, just for being on that, it's super cool, I must say.
And that was one of those. A lot of these are done. It's just digital these days, or it's done in such a way that you can all cut your parts at different times. So that's how you're saying you don't always end up in the same place with these artists.
Yeah. They sent me. Well, back in those days, it was still a tape. They sent me a tape, and I put it on in my studio, and I wasn't given any guidance at all. I just heard the song, and I just filled every hole. I just figured I'd fill every hole, and then I figured they'd use what they wanted, and that's what ended up happening. There's a lot of good licks that are not ever to be heard.
Cutting room floor.
Yeah, but I think they did an okay job of editing it. I think they should have left a little bit more sax in there, but of course I always think that.
Of all the cats who you've actually been privileged to be in the studio or get to spend some time with on that list of these incredible guests that you've been privileged to work with, which one would strike you as an encounter where you got to actually be with them and enjoy their company?
God, you know...
was Steve Miller that way?
No, again, I wasn't in the studio. That was up in Seattle. I just went into the studio, and I had to go to a studio, and they just played me the track, and I just played on it. He wasn't there.
Barbara?
I've met Barbara before, but I didn't actually do it with her in the studio. You keep name other ones. I can't remember. Smokey Robinson was in the studio. He was cool. He was the coolest one because he was there, listening and encouraging, and it was a true session where we were together in the studio. It was really fun.
Aside from the music, another facet of your life that's fascinating to people is you fly. It's really and it's remarkable. You have a very special kind of plane that can land on water, as you told me before on the phone. Tell folks a little bit about your passion for flight. Well,
I started taking flying lessons maybe, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. No, maybe not 30 years ago. But I just, one of those things I was intrigued with, and then I learned how to fly, and the plane that I fly is an amphibian plane that lands on the land, it lands on the water, and it's actually really cool. It's very slow, though. I'll fly it across the country from LA to New York once a year, but it takes 4 days.
And then the cabin too, right?
And then it goes to, we fly to some sort of a cabin, yeah. But the thing about it is it's just an adventure because you don't know where you're going to sleep that night. Some nights I'm in a big city, some nights I'm just in the back of the airplane.
It's really cool. It's a fun thing. And I'll let you go with one final question. What's going to be coming next? Brazilian Nights, most recent record. What's the next thing that folks can look for? And also, as a second part of that, what's an aspiration? You've gotten to work with so many people. What's something you're like, you know what I'd really like to do is this kind of project, or work with this person, or try to write this kind of composition?
What's next? We're not sure. And I'm never sure. I just have to start recording something. And once I start recording something, it'll all come together. I actually have no idea what it's going to sound like. But it'll happen. It's going to happen this year. This 2017 for sure, there'll be something. Could be a Christmas record, could be a classical record, could be a real true jazz record. Could be, you know, there's lots of ideas I have that I want to do. I just don't know what's going to happen. And aspirations, I'd like to do a movie score. I really would. I think I'm the perfect guy to do it. I think they're misusing my talents because there's no you know when you watch a movie, the soundtracks are always good. I'm saying they're good, but they're not great. They're good. They sound just fine, but they're not memorable. And I think that that's the quality that I have. I have a talent for writing a melody that, for whatever reason, people seem to love my melodies, and it touches them. And I'm really good at that kind of thing. Just
Like Songbird.
like Songbird or whatever other songs I've done. I'm just naturally have that. I'm not bragging. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that's one thing that I know how to do well. And so with a movie soundtrack, why wouldn't you want them to go out humming it like Titanic theme? See, the Titanic was a fantastic tune, right? Awesome. Everybody knows that tune, and that made the movie even better. When's the next soundtrack since then that you can remember? I can't remember, and I pay attention because I'm a musician and I'm thinking about soundtracks. I'm listening, and I still can't hum any of the soundtracks I've heard in the last years and years. So I want the chance, but it's very difficult to get.
Well, I bet it's going to happen by the next time I run into you. And
I wish you were. You're optimistic. I've been saying this for years, but we'll see.
it'll come together. Hey, thank you for taking some time for us. Really appreciate it. Kenny G, Blue Note Hawaii. Incredible to have you back in town, and we're grateful for a little bit of your time today here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.